Did you get a lot of reaction to that Super Bowl commercial?
What Super Bowl commercial?
Oh, you know what? I've been my mistake. You know what?
See, you're as crazy as the people on Twitter.
Right.
I'm not Laurence Fishburne.
Hollywood is full of coincidences that look, in hindsight, like fate. For Samuel L. Jackson and Laurence Fishburne, two actors of enormous presence and power, those coincidences defined the paths their careers would take. Both came up through theater and independent cinema, both were mentored by giants of American film, and both spent years working their way to the top. But in the 1990s, two key moments changed everything, and in each one, Jackson walked through a door that had first been opened for Fishburne. By the early 90s, Fishburne had already built a formidable reputation. He'd broken into films as a teenager in Apocalypse Now, spent a decade playing tough, nuanced characters on screen and stage.
A post-Apocalypse Now, were you satisfied with the roles you got after that, or was it a tougher haul than you expected?
It was a much tougher haul than I expected. I expected to be greeted with open arms and to be made a big star, like, you know, who wouldn't after doing a big movie like that? But that wasn't the case for me, and it was a good thing, too. Basically what happened was, although I didn't find all of the work available to me satisfying, I found that it helped me to grow as a person and to become a lot more realistic in terms of what my expectations of the business were.
By the time Boys in the Hood came along, he was widely seen as one of the most commanding actors of his generation. Jackson, meanwhile, had worked tirelessly in supporting roles for directors like Spike Lee and Martin Scorsese. He'd been a drug addict, a stage performer, a voice in the background of films that were bigger than his name. Then came Jungle Fever, where he played Gator, the charming, tragic crack addict whose scenes burned through the film. Critics called it his breakout, but it was really just the prelude to what came next.
My first encounter with Quentin happened during Reservoir Dogs. I was still in New York, and I went to a casting call on a Sunday for this film, and I read it. It was just such an amazing script to listen to these guys talk and realize these were like. So after the film, I walked up to Quentin and said, "This film's amazing, man. It's great." So I went up to him like, I didn't realize you were the director, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, "How you like the guy who got your part?" I was like, "What? Your movie would have been much better with me in it. You know, that's that guy's fine. He's a soap opera actor. You should have hired me." You know, he's like, "Don't worry, I'm writing something for you." I was like, "What? You remember me?" Yeah. And he gone.
That next step was Pulp Fiction. Written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, it became the film that redefined modern independent cinema. The role of Jules Winfield, the Bible-quoting hitman with a moral streak, is now inseparable from Jackson's name.
"And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee."
But it wasn't meant to be his. Tarantino had written Jules with Laurence Fishburne in mind. Fishburne had just come off What's Love Got to Do With It and was at the top of his game. Tarantino admired him, respected his authority on screen, and thought he'd be perfect for the part. Fishburne read the script, liked the writing, but had deep concerns about the way heroin use was depicted. According to his later comments, he worried that Pulp Fiction might glamorize drug abuse, and he wasn't comfortable lending his name to that. He also saw Jules as a supporting role, while he wanted to focus on leading parts, so he turned it down.
There is a role that I passed on that I'm happy I passed on.
Oh, you gotta tell me.
And that was Sam Jackson's performance in Pulp Fiction.
When Jackson came in to audition, he didn't immediately blow the doors off. Paul Calderon, another actor, actually gave a strong reading that briefly had Tarantino and producer Harvey Weinstein leaning his way. But Jackson came back for a second reading, angry that he'd nearly lost the part, and delivered it with the fury and precision that would make him a star. The result was cinematic lightning. Pulp Fiction won the Palme d'Or at Cannes,
Pulp Fiction
made over $200 million worldwide, and earned Jackson his first Oscar nomination.
The nominees are Samuel L. Jackson, Pulp Fiction,
Sam, it's really great that you were nominated in this category for Best Actor,
Thank you.
as it should have been with the Academy, if you don't mind us saying that.
Okay, no, I don't mind at all.
Wait a
Thank you very
minute.
much.
I asked him what he wanted to be nominated
What'd he
as,
say?
and he said...
Best leading actor.
There you go. The truth comes out, and the lawyers will be meeting on Monday.
Jules Winfield became the defining role of his career.
See, now I'm thinking, maybe it means you're the evil man, and I'm the righteous man. And Mr. 9mm here, he used to shepherd protecting my righteous ass in the valley of darkness.
His speeches quoted endlessly, his cadence imitated in pop culture for decades. Tarantino himself said later that no one else could have played it that way. Yet it's fascinating to imagine what might have been had Fishburne said yes. Still, Hollywood has a way of circling back. A year later, the universe threw the two men together again, this time in a twist of casting irony that Jackson would later describe with amusement. While shooting Kiss of Death in New York, Jackson auditioned for a part in Waterworld, Kevin Costner's wildly ambitious post-apocalyptic adventure. The role eventually went to Dennis Hopper after Fishburne was attached and then dropped out.
Now, there may be some small problem in depth perception.
Well, better not screw up my short game.
Around the same time, the producers of Die Hard with a Vengeance were also looking for a partner for Bruce Willis.
When I was doing Die Hard, Pulp Fiction came out. So Bruce and I flew from here to Cannes to watch Pulp Fiction. I was like, damn, this movie's fucking good. Look at it. You know, and Bruce was, yeah, it's good, but this movie is gonna make you a star. I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, Die Hard's gonna be the highest grossing movie in the world next year. And it was.
That film, the third in the Die Hard series, needed someone who could match Willis's energy and attitude. The role of Zeus Carver, a Harlem shop owner reluctantly drawn into John McClane's chaos, had originally been offered to Fishburne.
You having a nice day, sir? You feeling all right? Not to get too personal, but a white man standing in the middle of Harlem wearing a sign that says, I hate niggas, has either got some serious personal issues or not all his dogs are barking.
My whole function in this film is to be an audience member who's in a Die Hard movie, reacting like they would react if they were in one.
He was reported to have a verbal agreement in place, but when negotiations broke down over salary, the part slipped away. Fishburne later sued, claiming that he'd been promised the job. As Jackson recalled in an interview with the AV Club, I was in New York shooting Kiss of Death, and I had an audition for Waterworld. I was waiting on the call to see if I got that job. Then one day someone came up and said, Laurence Fishburne is doing Waterworld, but he was supposed to be in Die Hard with a Vengeance. Do you want to be in Die Hard? I said, fuck yeah, I'll take that job. That one decision changed his career again. Die Hard with a Vengeance became one of the biggest films of 1995, grossing over $360 million worldwide. Jackson's chemistry with Willis gave the franchise new life, and his character became one of the most memorable additions to the series.
I'm here. And McClane? He's on his way. You know, he's a little slow. He's kind of out of shit.
As he joked years later, Fish got Waterworld, I got Die Hard, and that was fine. History, of course, would show that Waterworld turned into one of the most notorious flops of the decade, while Die Hard with a Vengeance cemented Jackson as a bona fide box office draw. For Fishburne, there was frustration. The lawsuit over Die Hard reportedly stemmed from a verbal promise that wasn't honored, and while it didn't derail his career, it did mark a rare public setback.
No way, you do it. $10. The guy in the dump truck had 10 quarters, exactly 10 quarters. Well, maybe they were making long-distance phone calls. No. For the bridge. For the toll on the bridge.
Yet only a few years later, he landed The Matrix, a role that would become just as iconic as Jackson's Pulp Fiction performance.
At last. Welcome, Neo. As you no doubt have guessed, I am Morpheus.
Morpheus, the mentor and philosopher warrior guiding Neo through a digital dream world, gave Fishburne the mythic stature he'd long deserved. It's hard to imagine anyone else in that role, just as it's hard to imagine anyone but Jackson holding the briefcase and reciting Ezekiel 25:17.
The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the inequities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men.
Looking back, Jackson has reflected on that strange period in Hollywood when the same small pool of black actors were constantly being considered for the same roles. I was in a place where every script I touched, if it came from Hollywood, were Denzel scripts, or it was a Forrest Whitaker independent job, he said. Those were the two black guys they looked at first. I was joining them. Finally, I said, they don't want to do it. Let's see if I will. And that's how I ended up in Die Hard. It turned out great. That quote says a lot about his mindset. Jackson built his career by saying yes when others said no. He saw opportunity where others saw compromise, and he turned supporting parts into leading ones through sheer force of personality. Fishburne, meanwhile, was more selective, often choosing roles that aligned with his sense of integrity and purpose. Both approaches have merit. One led to omnipresence, Jackson's face on every screen, in every genre, from Tarantino to Marvel. The other led to prestige, Fishburne's gravitas in projects like The Matrix, Othello, and Mystic River. The irony is that their careers now mirror each other in legacy, if not in volume. Both men became cultural institutions, commanding respect across generations. Jackson's path was shaped by moments like those two casting twists, opportunities that might have belonged to someone else, but that he made his own. Fishburne's path was slower, more deliberate, and yet no less impactful. When you look at Pulp Fiction and Die Hard with a Vengeance, it's easy to see them as mere chance encounters with fate, but they also tell a story about how careers are built in the margins, in the choices that seem small at the time, but ripple outward for decades. One actor says no, another says yes. The rest becomes film history.